Come follow us
on our journey to get a low-budget
DIY
feature film from script
to screen and beyond.
Nobody knows who we are.
Look at yourselves. Realistically, nobody's going to give you that money. Nobody. You don't know who the fuck you are. It's a complete risk. You are unknown.
This is our first feature film, something we're going to do together. You're going to get it warts and all.
For now, you're just some pair of idiots like everyone else.
£10,000 to make a feature film. I mean, how do people do that? I don't know, but I think we're probably about to find out.
This is DIY Cinema Cult.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Aaron. How you doing?
I'm okay. How's it going?
That's all right. I'm not too bad. Not too bad. How's things going over with I've seen lots of activity your end with your movie, with Free Party.
What do you mean, my drink in my hand? Is that what you're really talking about? What I was realising the other day is that we used to make this podcast mainly about what booze we were drinking, and we've kind of forgotten to do that for a while, haven't we?
We have. What have you got there? You got something red.
It's red. It looks a little bit like Ribena, doesn't it? It's actually a bramble gin cocktail.
Very nice.
Yeah. So, but from a can, so properly not that classy.
Ooh. it reminds you a bit of a
Premix.
story. It reminds you of a story that happened to me recently. I hope Debbie, my other half, doesn't mind me telling this story.
Yeah.
But we went out for dinner, and when you are mums and dads of a very young child, it's very special when you go out for the evening, and grandma came to babysit, and we all went out for dinner, and it always feels weird because you're not used to it. Lockdown plus having a baby, being out's a very special thing. We weren't quite sure how to act. And we went to this restaurant, and they had on the table a drink that looked a little bit like that. It was in a lovely Moroccan kind of jug, and there was little glasses out. And Debbie took a glass and started pouring it and drinking it loads. And she goes, "It's very strange. It doesn't really taste of anything." And I said, "Well, it's it might be some kind of herbal drink. It's got a colour to it. I don't know what it is." And then we were ordering cocktails and having a laugh, and the waiter finally came past us about half an hour into our sit down, and he said, "Excuse me, madam, how much of that have you drunk?" And Debbie was like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "It's not for drinking, it's just for show." And Debbie was like, "What do you mean it's just for show? You've got glasses out and everything." She got very, very annoyed. And apparently it's just fake show water decoration that had been out there for a week or so.
Oh God.
In the jug. But the funniest thing was that Debbie had got me to take a little picture of herself drinking it like she was going to Instagram it later. And when I looked at the picture later on, I think I nearly pissed myself.
Out of practice, you see. Out of practice.
We don't know how to act in public. We don't know how to act.
No. Well, what are you drinking there, Mark? It looks kind of suspiciously gin-like.
It is gin. It's gin with a little bit of soda because I don't have any tonic, but it's very nice.
Yeah, our standards have slipped a little bit. I think our standards have slipped.
Well, I think we should get back in the shed and do like a proper Louis.
Well, that was the plan, wasn't it? Actually, we were going to do this podcast as a shed one. Now, of course, basically, restrictions is lifted. We can do anything. We could have sex. We could do pretty much whatever we wanted.
Me and you.
Well, because we could. No, but Boris can't tell us not to do that. Not that we would, because obviously we have regular partners, so we wouldn't go down that route. But it'd be nice to be back in the shed, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to be back in the shed.
It certainly would.
We'll save that one. But so what's been happening in your world at the moment, then, Marky Mark? What's been happening?
It's been busy. Lots of work and stuff. Lots of kind of writing. I also took a bit of a gamble, and I booked us a quite a substantial, massive location for Old Man.
Yes,
I told you about a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, well, we actually did meet in the pub, and it was quite nice to kind of catch up. And you told me about this kind of throwing yourself into the deep end plan that you've got. So why don't you tell our listeners all about it?
It's almost that kind of self-sabotage, getting a film production rolling by proxy of just doing something slightly rash. But I was looking for location. I always knew that Old Man, because we don't have a lot of money or won't have a lot of money to make it, it would always rely very strongly on whatever location we managed to lock down. And I was looking, because I'd rewritten the whole thing to work for a coastal location in the southeast somewhere. instead of what the original script was about going up to the Lake District and up a huge mountain in the lakes, blah blah blah.
Which is actually called the Old Man.
The Old Man, yeah. There's a fell up in Coniston called the Old Man, and so that was the whole idea of the script, and it all kind of tied in lovely with the theme of this film. But I was like, well, doesn't seem doable. Maybe I can look for something simpler. So having it close to London was the idea. But then obviously, like we discussed in earlier podcasts, trying to organize a shoot, even a small shoot in a caravan coastal seaside park as we come out of lockdown just was throwing up even more problems than it solved. So then I started looking back into the locations in the lakes, and then I just found this incredible collection of little old stone cottages in an old copper mine, and it's in the foothills of the Old Man. So I kind of fell in love with the place, chatted to the people, asked if it was possible about shooting there. They seemed up for it, and I just bloody went and did it and just put down a deposit. But we're not there till next March, so we're shooting in March.
There is definitely something to be said for creating a deadline for yourself. I think with DIY filmmaking, I think one of the problems we all have is kind of project drift, as in you got loads of ideas. Which one do you prioritize? Which one do you invest your time and your money and your efforts into? And in a way, nobody's there to tell you this is what you want to do, this is where you're going to get it to. And so in some ways, you've got to almost take a kind of leap of faith, haven't you? And
absolutely.
I think what you've done is you've given yourself basically something very tangible to aim at. And the good side of that is the big problem is often the location. So, for a low budget anything, one of the key things that you really can't kind of skimp on is the place, because unless everything is in a living room or a toilet or a bedroom, generally place will do a huge amount of the work for you. Then obviously on top of that, you need your great cast and then crew, etc. But once you've got that place, which is what you've sort of invested in, then hopefully the other things fall into place, so a little bit easier.
That's right. And then we can build on top of that. Like I'm currently just doing a rewrite of the script to switch it all back into, or fit it in now to our new location, which is beautiful. And it's just situated in such a beautiful part of the country, and the buildings themselves are just so photogenic. So it will really lift the film. Just kind of starting to edge towards that now. And we had a little chat, didn't we, about the possible budget of shooting up there for a week. The great thing is it's a collection of about 4 cottages that I've kind of rented the 4 outright, so it means it's going to be our own little film studio for a week.
Amazing.
Fantastic. So we're not going to worry about upsetting anyone with noise or disturbance of any kind. So then the thing is just trying to get some money together to do that. And I was going to ask you a bit of advice, Aaron, as your DIY Cinema Cult's resident Kickstarter guru now, going down that route, because considering we are shooting in March, which seems comfortably far away, but also very uncomfortably near once you start thinking about what needs to be done.
And we're thinking about Christmas being this thing in between it all, and
and that will soon be gone, and then we'll be like, shit, we've got 2 months until we got to shoot this.
Exactly, yeah.
So when do you think, if we were to do a Kickstarter or a similar raiser, in terms of time scale, and considering we have to shoot in March, that's kind of not movable, when would be a good time frame to start a campaign like that?
Well, I guess there's always the there's this sort of major thing with any Kickstarter campaign is that you've got to build a community of people who are interested in watching your film before you go and do it. Now, obviously, you could decide that your Kickstarter campaign is going to raise money for the shoot itself, of which that means you've really got to get your skates on, because you've got to discover and harness and create that community who are interested in the film through social media. Then you've got to build that up, and you've got to build it up organically. It can't just be built up. There's no amount of money that can create a community who's interested in the film. And whereas with my Free Party film, it has a specific topic and a community built in, and it was really about me finding that. With a fiction film, it's a slightly different thing. So you've got to figure out where your audience is. Now, if you were aiming on raising that money before March, then I would say, start straight away, finding what that community is, thinking about what the audience is. Now, that audience may be as a result of the casting that you do, because it may be that our lead 2 actors are people who already have a community who would be very interested to find out about this upcoming feature film that they're going to be involved with. It may be about the location. You may say people of this specific area will be really interested to see their local area on film. It may be about the theme of the project. So it may be brothers with challenging relationships with each other. It may be about, siblings. So it's about connecting the themes and the story and the project itself to the audience that it will eventually hope to have, and then galvanizing that in a Facebook group or an Instagram group or however you feel comfortable gathering that community, and then really giving yourself enough time to launch a campaign where you kind of don't have anything else to do, because there's no doubt about it that running a Kickstarter campaign is full-time, and it's full-time really for the month beforehand and the month afterwards, depending on the kind of things that you're offering as a reward. So I would say if you are planning to do it for March, then let's start now, because you can never have enough time, because there's going to be a lot of planning, figuring out what the right kind of community is that needs to be built and what community would be interested in the project. But it's also possible that you think of it as, well, maybe once we know a little bit more about who's going to be in it casting wise, then you think of the Kickstarter campaign being there to finance the second bit of it, which obviously is the post-production, the finishing, and etc. So it might be that you think, well, look, the shoot is the shoot, but we try to start talking about it now, but when we raise the money after the shoot. So the joy of that is then we've got stills from the film. We've got the lead characters who will be tweeting about it, who will be posting pictures about it. On set even, you could be saying, look, we're here today, can't wait to launch our campaign. There's a number of ways where you could do it before or after, and it would still be worth doing. Some people raise money to get their film off the ground. Some people raise the money to finish their film, and then others raise their money even to do like a festival run or to do a DVD release or all kinds of things. So it really depends on those sorts of factors. And I think in this particular case, probably knowing who your lead characters are, your lead actors are, is probably going to be a real asset to launching the project on the outside world, because at the moment there's not so much to go on. You've got a script, you've got a location, but there's not a lot for people to see what it might well become. And of course, the DIY Cinema Cult audience is we've got wonderful people on the Facebook
amazing
group.
Supporters,
got amazing supporters, and in a way, these guys I'm sure will be very interested in what we do, because that in a way was the original setup of the kind of podcast. So
isn't it funny how, because when we set out, it was for us altogether completely different film that hasn't gone away at all. It's still there, kind of bubbling in the background, but it's the kind of, once the reality of things, of the terrain kind of set itself out for us, it's other things have happened, which is great, I suppose, isn't it?
For sure.
Life's what happens when you're making other plans and
absolutely. Well, I mean, it's also not like we're not doing stuff. We're definitely doing stuff. But I'm sure our listeners for DIY Cinema Cult will be very excited to find out about the progress of
I will start. I will start posting on our Facebook page very, very soon. But it's great that we're both kind of so busy with our projects. We certainly have lots on the go that are quite kind of in motion. So tell us about what's been going on with Free Party.
Yeah, I mean, I had a brilliant phone call just now that really made me feel like this was all real now, because obviously the campaign did very well, and it was a amazing feeling to know that there's enough of a community out there who are interested in the film. And then I spent a good month after the campaign finished, which was sort of the middle of June, a good month just dealing with almost the fallout and the kind of leads and all of the different things from that. So, you know, the various people that have got in touch about contributions in terms of the content of the film, potential collaborators in terms of, you know, people from on the production side, or music composition side, music supervision, archive, and then also story points. So, you know, a great deal of I mean, today, for example, I've just done my 30th interview. Just went up to speak to a fantastic character called Phil, who was from Tonka Sound System, integral part of the story. And then I did have a brilliant moment where I got back and I've just given the green light to a specific bunch to be the music supervisors on the film. And I had a great moment just now of talking to them about what tracks I'd like for the film, and who they know and who could kind of contact. And I mean, it really did feel like a moment of like, this is really happening. I'm talking to people about what tracks I want on the film. The editor Andrew started last week, so he's working away on taking this vast amount of content we've got and kind of trimming it down. I spent about a month working from all of the rushes. I listened to everything again, which was no mean feat. It took me 2 weeks just to listen to everything all over again. And I put everything into a chapter order. So I now have the structure of the film basically down. Yeah. And then I've given Andrew the task of trimming all of that material down so that, you know, we have a sort of a watchable, maybe who knows what length it'll be, but a kind of 7-hour version of the film, of which then you reduce down and reduce down and reduce down. So yeah, great feeling today, speaking to the editor, speaking to the music supervisor, doing an interview for the film. And of course, I'm really looking forward to you coming on board, Mark, in September to help out with the whole visual styling of the film too.
I'll be there. I'm looking forward to jumping on board. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So it's exciting. And of course, you know, we have the Barcelona Festival approaching in October. So yeah, it's kind of exciting times. Yeah,
so Barcelona, obviously, I'm very much hoping that the COVID situation means that we can physically go.
Yeah.
Kickstarter and the festival will pay for me to go over, which is fabulous. Nice. All being hopefully there's no sudden surge of alpha variant, gamma variant, or whatever else. It's also my 50th birthday, so it'll be a great excuse to have a bit of a party. And the idea with that is that it's really a shop window. I think probably the best I could hope for would be 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of the film that we can screen. The festival's very keen to see the project in process. So the good thing about it is they're not expecting a finished film, because I hate to say it, but you wouldn't get one. And the last thing I want to do is show, you know, an hour and a half of there will be some archive here appearing on the screen, or ignore this bit, it hasn't been graded, appearing on the screen. But if I can get 20 really good, 30 really good minutes that feel like, wow, that's the buzz of the film, I'd be super happy. Get it up to a decent enough standard, and then hopefully off the back of that raise a bit more money, because although the Kickstarter did brilliant, it won't quite see us through to a finished rough cut. But it's got us way further than we expected. But hopefully off the back of that, get a little bit more money and get it to the finish line for sort of February or March next year.
Amazing. I think that's a really good approach to take a really polished 20 minutes, even 30 minutes, that leaves people wanting more and leaves kind of not much to the imagination. People can really see what the film is going to be about and want to see the whole finished thing, rather than having a work in progress where you can see the scaffold and all the paint drying in the background. And you want to kind of be thrilled by it, really, all singing, all dancing. So I think that's a really good approach.
I mean, in a way, I think it's almost the only thing we can do, because if I try to do the whole thing, I'll for sure fall, because we're talking about an hour and a half or hour 45. My editor today was talking about how this could easily be a 3-part series. It's so much, such a wealth of material there, and I'm still shooting interviews. I'm still plugging in gaps. I'm still, working. So there's a great deal of stuff. But if I try to spread the workload that we've got, because we've only got 2.5 months left to get it there. If I tried to finish the whole thing, it would be spread far too thinly. So the key is work on the bits that we know are going to be really great to watch, whet the appetite, and hopefully someone comes along and says, here's a few more quid, we love this, let's get it finished, so, and keeping it DIY. I mean, what I will say that's been very interesting is I've had multiple approaches now by, should we say, traditional broadcasters,
right,
which sounds very flattering, feels very flattering, but they all gave me the clear indication that should they come on board, I would really have to be giving over quite a large amount of authority or authorial editorial control.
Yeah.
So albeit quite exciting when someone calls up and says, oh, I'm blah blah from the burr or the blah blah from the Durr channel.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, here we go. We were very interested in your project. It looks great. We've been thinking of a similar project too, and perhaps we could see your rushes, and perhaps we could.
Yeah.
Now, all of this is, very flattering, and they've seen the potential of the project, but I think they have their own project in their mind, and they're hoping I've already shot the rushes for it. Basically,
it sounds like it. It sounds like they've got a project, and they kind of want to swallow you up and just digest you into their thing rather than, which is not how I've sold the concept of the film to the contributors. I think it would be absolutely
disingenuous. That being said, I'm all for the right kind of partnership, because it's a huge thing to release a feature documentary into the world, and I would be very unlikely to release it without any kind of partnership, but I have to make sure that DIY principle is still there to the core. DIY forever, Mark. DIY
forever. Keep it DIY. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You are listening to the debut feature film podcast. This is DIY Cinema Cult.
DIY Cinema Cult is suddenly very, very busy in terms of planning and film production at the moment, isn't it? It's quite good to see.
It is. Well, I think that there's no doubt that something about the urge to just start, which is one of the principles that we've banged on about back in the day, just starting a project, which I think is even in our little opening gambit intro sequence. It does work. The main thing is, the first thing is, in the inception of the idea, what is the idea? Now, we all have ideas about where that comes from, who can say, but the idea comes, I'm going to sound like David Lynch now, you put the fishing rod into the fish, and you catch a little fish, and you fall in love with the fish, and then that idea, you go, okay, well, this is the one, this is what I'm going to do this, and hopefully you have collaborators around you that are excited about it as well. And then usually, if you go the traditional way, you then have to go and ask permission from somebody else to start that idea. And they either, if they know you and you've got a track record, great, they'll go, I love your stuff, you're a safe pair of hands, here's some money, you go and make your fish that you've caught. But if not, or if you're outside the system, or you want to do something that doesn't really gel with the way the system works, then you've got no other choice, because basically you've either got to do it yourself, you've got to just start, or it won't happen. Nobody is there going to go, I see the potential in you, young man or young woman, or old man or old woman, and you are the person who deserves to make your project. This is not going to happen. Nobody will do it. And weirdly, we kind of got that lesson from Haddy back in the day, didn't we? We did. And so in some ways we have now started to follow that principle.
Yeah. And it's funny, I got very recently, a couple of weeks ago, I got my final rejection through for a film festival for The Chewing Gun Man, which I sent out to a whole bunch of festivals. I was very optimistic about it and got rejected for every single one of them.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when I looked at the list, I hadn't realized I had applied to quite a few, and all of them just turned me down. But in the end, it doesn't matter, because the success was that it got broadcast on Sky, and it's still on Sky. So in a way, the film festivals rejections, I'd almost completely forgotten about. But it just goes to show that not having that validation from certain places which you think are should be giving you validation. If you just go ahead and just do it anyway, you'll find a way to find your audience in the end.
Yeah. For sure. And I mean, I think if your connection to the subject matter is deep and honest, then one hopes that other people's connection to that subject matter will also be there. Yeah. Now, of course, some people will go, oh, that's perfect. Now that means I can make my film about my stamp collection. Brilliant. Well, maybe that is the case, but maybe that would be a great film, because you just need to connect to other people who care about stamps deeply enough. Yeah. And then you will, and if you really, really love that thing, you really love that subject matter, you will make it something interesting, I'm sure. So it is definitely about that. We've spent so long having to go through the kind of filtered gate, the gatekeepers who allow us to make our projects. But those that is an ever dwindling gate, and it's only opened for less and less people. So the key is just do it, just get started, and then it is a thing, and then it's real in other people's eyes. Yeah. And if you've put passion into it, then hopefully people can also see that.
People will take notice.
Yeah, and there's certainly a degree of, well, you've got to still do things professionally, you've still got to have some skill or some talent or all of that, but the main thing is that that inception of the idea, the passion to make it work, to connect with that audience, and just getting started in some way.
Yeah, well, going back to the idea of just starting, that idea of just start. Similar to The Chewing Gum Man, your free party, when it started out, it was a very different animal to what it's become. Yeah. And the whole reason why you started it, I imagine, is very much like me with The Chewing Gum Man. I just wanted something to be doing. I just wanted to start making a film, not ask for permission and maybe make a film in 4 months. I wanted to start that day and just have it in my head. And then, if you decide to make a film off your own bat, starting right now, then you're being the filmmaker from dot, and you are thinking about the film, you're figuring out how you're going to do it, you're thinking about how you want to, how you want the film to look finally, and you are suddenly in that mode. You don't have your hand out, kind of asking for money, asking for permission. You're the one forcing it through and doing it. And I think that, Free Party's an amazing example of that. Chewing Gum Man's a good example of that. I wanted to make a little mini documentary about that, or just a little mini film about the idea of just starting. Sticking up on YouTube, because I've been trying to think of films as well to do on my YouTube channel to help build up pre-Old Man some kind of audience on a YouTube channel as well, because that's where we'll be releasing it, on YouTube and on Vimeo. So but I don't want to be, I'm trying to find ways of making little nuggets and little documentaries that feel comfortable with my style of filmmaking, rather than being a YouTube person, because you see so many YouTubers and it's a world that I can't quite keep in step with. But I found a great guy. Have you watched any Van Neistat videos? Do you know Van Neistat?
Van Neistat. It rings a bell.
His brother Casey
Oh
Neistat.
yeah. Who's the biggest YouTuber in the world?
Yes,
basically. Van
Neistat is his older brother, who's probably about our age, or maybe a little bit older. Casey Neistat. So him and his brother started out making just videos before YouTube. They were making videos of just their lives, of each other, of things, silly animations, whatever. They were just making videos, and then they somehow cobbled it all together and pitched HBO, and they got a HBO series. This is back in maybe mid 90s or something like that, and it was called the Neistat Brothers, and they were kind of like a pre-reality TV reality show. And then Casey Neistat started making YouTube videos. He becomes the world's biggest YouTuber. But his brother kind of just doesn't really. They're both at heart very analog and video. They love little video cameras. They love shooting stuff, stop motion animation. But Casey Neistat is very kind of slick YouTube. Looks amazing. He lives this amazing life in New York. He's got a studio to die for in Manhattan somewhere. And he just lived this awesome life. But his older brother, Van, has just started a YouTube channel. You can tell that Casey's gone, mate, you could earn some bucks. Just let me help you. I'll big you up. I'll big you up, and I'll get people watching your channel. And it's brilliant because it's so beautifully done, because he's done it in a very documentary, old school way. He's not a YouTuber. He doesn't watch YouTube. So his films look very different on YouTube.
Good.
He's the guy who I'm thinking something like that, where you can just do your own thing, but somehow fit it into that framework. And I'm trying to think of little nuggets of things I can make almost in the build up to Old Man, as in how it gets made, how we put things together, us doing DIY Cinema Cult, just little videos, and then seeing if that gets any kind of traction. But I would recommend watch, and to our listeners as well, watch Van Neistat. And there's one video, I think it's called Fantasy Fixing, which is, I think it's one of his first videos, which is like the best example of his films, because he kind of looks back on, because he and Casey Neistat were kind of, they're New Yorkers, and they're kind of linked into like a kind of New York art crowd. Like they were really good mates with the Safdie brothers, who did like those movies. And I think Casey Neistat even produced one or two of their early movies. But also the artist Tom Sachs, who's like this great kind of, he's very hands-on DIY, does these amazing art installations, but all kind of handmade stuff out of hardware store materials. And I think Van Neistat used to work as a kind of fix-it builder guy for Tom Sachs. So that's why he's very handy. So all of his films are very kind of handmade. They're about making stuff. But I think it's called Fantasy Fixing. I think that's the first one you should check out.
You don't want to get that one wrong, do you? Fantasy Fixing.
Fantasy fisting.
I wasn't gonna say it, but you just had to say it, didn't you?
Check out Fantasy Fisting, guys.
Yeah. You're really advertising that on DIY Cinema? Well, I guess it's DIY Cinema. Yeah, I guess it's DIY.
So basically, I want to build up my YouTube channel to be like Fantasy Fisting, and see how many followers that gets me.
Well, it's definitely DIY. Let's put it that way. Nobody else is going to take part. It does sound like a really good idea. I think it's interesting that Casey Neistat guy, he's almost set the template for what a YouTuber does.
Yes.
And so, part of what a YouTuber is, like all media forms, is to figure out how to maximize the platform that they're on. So, you know, let's face it, the 7-inch single, rubbish way to listen to music, right? But what it did, it invented a medium, the 3-minute pop song.
Yeah.
And we've all fallen in love with many 3-minute pop songs. The 12-inch was the perfect place for dance music because it was 10 minutes long and it sounded good, and you could have a big sleeve and you could mix it and you could physically, you know, muck around with it with your hand to DJ or scratch or whatever you did. So those were the sort of the boundaries of the medium in some way, the shape of the record, the length you could put the stuff on. YouTube kind of has a bunch of boundaries. It has ads that pop up from time to time. So you've got to be aware of, well, what are the ads? If you want to use it to monetize, which is what a lot of people hope to do with YouTube, well, now there are 1,001 YouTubers telling you how to make money on YouTube. So it becomes a kind of a platform about doing well on the platform. And in some ways, I suppose this has always been the case. You know, one of our favorite, the KLF book about how to make a pop record. You know, what's it called? The classic, the KLF,
the manual.
The manual, you know, again, in a way that was the kind of, you know, it was like hacking the system or learning about the sort of boundaries of the medium. The medium was pop music, and the KLF were there to sort of tell you how to get through it. Although, you know, it was fabulously transgressive and subversive in its kind of intent, you know, breaking the system. The YouTube platform has a bunch of rules. The rules are there to be in some ways gamed. The only interesting thing now is that the YouTube platform is obviously largely driven, the popularity of things that appear on YouTube is not driven by the same rules that 7-inch singles were, or even that cinema was, or what have you. It's driven by the rules that are created or as a result of the AI, of the algorithm. The algorithm, which basically says some people seem to engage with this video a lot. I'll put that to the top of the recommended list. Some people watch this video all the way to the end. I'll put that to the top of the recommendation list. Some people seem to subscribe to this channel, and so I'll put that to the top of the recommended list. Some people watch this person's content over and over and over again. I'll put that to the top of the recommendations list. So it has a bunch of rules, and that's not to say that things that exist outside those rules don't have value, because of course they do. And, you know, in the same way that you'll pick up an obscure 7-inch and you think, wow, this is the best thing I've ever heard, but nobody heard it because because for whatever reason it wasn't marketed, or it didn't fulfill the criteria of a classic 3-minute pop song. The same on YouTube. There's loads of brilliant stuff up there. So I guess it's that tension between, is the platform going to help push your plans forward, as in, you know, do you want it to be successful in the YouTube way, which is you get recommended, recommended, or are you happy for it to be, you know, just a place to sort of store content that maybe really probably would be better off on a short film site or what have you. And, you know, there is platforms obviously dedicated to short form media with a very different slant. So Nowness, for example, obviously takes from places that is more artistic and, you know, has a more whatever dance or animation or you know, often kind of fashion and things like that. And I'm sure there are other places for narrative and other places for comedy and the like. Yeah,
absolutely. There seems to be this weird kind of a kind of paradox that you can't ignore about YouTube, which is that, you know, I look about on YouTube and I don't see many people like us who are filmmakers kind of describing their process and then showing their finished results. It tends to be people who are telling you how to do it
Tutorials, yeah, tutorials.
That's because what people go to YouTube to watch. They go to YouTube to watch, how do I make film? How do I use this camera? How do I light a scene? How do I make money on YouTube? How do I become a film entrepreneur? There's all these horrible things about people wanting to make really quick money within the film industry, in inverted commas. But it's and I don't see many people doing what I want to do with it, which probably means that I won't have massive success with it. But what I do want to do is because when I started using YouTube, it literally was just a place to dump things I'd done.
And when I started using YouTube, man, I've been using YouTube for so long, man.
When I was first on the tube.
That first hit of tube, you just want to keep coming back for more, man.
Starts with cat videos, then playing the piano, and then next thing I know, I'm watching Werner Herzog documentaries.
Yeah, and then when you start to get the hit of like children opening their Christmas presents, my God.
So, but what I'm saying is, I kind of know when I first started doing YouTube.
When I first started on the tube,
I was kind of dumping stuff on there and not following it up. They don't on a plan. It was just like, here's some stuff, and then just kind of walk away. And then now I'm thinking, well, what if I did have some kind of plan? And it's not even that I have any kind of unrealistic plan of going, right, I'm going to have thousands of subscribers by the time Old Man comes out. That's definitely not going to happen. But even if post Old Man, if people came to Old Man and found it on YouTube, then I would have a channel that had lots of other stuff, making of stuff, and other bits and pieces.
Yeah.
That will kind of keep them, and then maybe from post Old Man an audience would grow, which could help us further on down the line. So it's kind of playing a long game. YouTube's a very difficult thing when you're an active filmmaker, because it's a tool. You kind of, like you say, there's other things out there, maybe more useful, beneficial things out there, but still you can't beat the audience that is the potential audience that is YouTube. So it's kind of finding your own way to play it and still feel like you're not sidelining what you really want to do, which is to make your films.
One thing that I've discovered on YouTube, which is sort of been really interesting for the kids in a way, but I find kind of fascinating, is a filmmaker. I don't know if you describe her as a filmmaker, but she's a mathematician, musician, animator, artist person called Vi Hart. I don't know if you've come across Vi Hart.
Check her out.
And it really, I mean, she's been doing stuff for like 10, 15 years since she was probably quite young, since she was probably 17 or 16. And now I think she works for, I don't know, Microsoft or something, But she was a maths genius, prodigy, whatever. And her films are often about Pythagoras or pi or, musical harmony theory or whatever. But they're done in a very sort of interesting kind of hand-drawn kind of way. So they're often... almost like a POV of her hands drawing on a sketch pad, So she'll explain very complicated concepts like, pi, or my kid's favorite is the hexaflexagon, which is this piece of paper you can fold inside out forever and ever and ever. She explains quite complex geometry and music and stuff like that, completely just as a sort of for whatever reason, just because it's just in her head and she's got to get it out. And she's got a very simple, charming style, and she has got 1.5 million subscribers. Wow. And it's, in a way, it's the YouTube that we want out more of, and less of the how to tell you how to get 1 million subscribers. It is just original and ingenious content. I hate the word content, but it's ingenious and original, and it's its own thing. It's completely its own thing. It doesn't rely on the structure of anything outside of it. It's just her, and the style of it is her. It's not something I would do. It's not something that I would aspire to do. It's just interesting and intriguing because she's just got this little world.
Yeah.
So in some ways, that's what you hope YouTube or the likes can create, as in a platform for originality, ingenuity. Now, I have no idea if she actually makes a living out of any of her videos, because I mean, she's probably doesn't need to. She's a maths genius. She makes films about the roadmap. I'm looking at them here. Roadmap to pandemic resilience, like literally just math theory about how you gain, critical mass of inoculations, and then the next one she'll do is something about pi or something about fractals, and she has got 1.3 million subscribers, and her average viewing is something like 600,000 views. So that's what you hope the democratization of media forms and film platforms can create.
So maybe that we can plan to get 1.3 million subscribers by next March. That would be handy, wouldn't it?
Well, DIY Cinema doesn't it? We don't even have a YouTube channel, do we not?
No, we don't. I mean, I have stuck some of one or two of our old interviews, like little clips of them up on YouTube.
So where's our one then? Where's your one then? Blank page rewrite.
Yeah, so that was one I just done recently, a little video.
Oh, look at this. It's you sitting down. But I've never seen these things.
Well, I literally just posted it before the weekend.
And what? Tell me about that, because that's quite an interesting idea.
So the idea is, so like I said, I'm trying to think of little documentary nuggets I can make about the process we're going through to get Old Man to the screen. Yeah. And the first thing I had to do once I kind of put a stake in the ground about the location was do a complete rewrite. And what I decided to do was do a blank page rewrite, which was actually from, totally disregarding the previous draft, starting with a blank page instead of working with the previous text and kind of re-editing it or just adding bits here and there, adjusting kind of lines and action lines. Is actually starting again with a blank page. And what that does to your mind, you literally start again from scratch. And a lot of the pieces from the previous draft can go back into it, but at least you're retyping it, you're readjusting it, and you're making sure that nothing goes back onto the page that doesn't serve the new draft. Because with choosing that location and deciding to go for it, a couple of other things kind of began to come to the surface about the themes and the characters. So I wanted to do a rewrite where I just made sure I kind of filtered, all the previous drafts again, and just made sure that this draft would be kind of more succinct and more kind of together. So I thought I'd do a quick video about that, because then it kind of gets my thoughts about the process clear in my head, as well.
And did you get results from that? As in, what was the results of starting with a blank page on the script? It's
kind of I'm kind of still in the process now. I'm episode 3 I'm at now, and it gives you a real sense of clarity. You don't feel tied down to your previous drafts. You feel quite freer. It's quite scary again starting with a blank page, and it feels like a lot of work, but then when you start to write, you realize that you've done all of the work before, and it just makes it all quicker, easier, and it makes for a better draft as well, and a better script, and it makes you think about every line as well, reassess it, because sometimes you'll read a draft and you'll just be like, you'll just read a whole page and not kind of come up with any notes that you want to change, just because you're used to reading that page as it is. You're used to reading that scene, and you go, oh yeah, that's fine. But you're not really being super critical in the way that you probably should be. Whereas starting with a blank page, you're going, right, does that line really make sense? Does it need to be there? Is that right for the character to say that? All of those things go through your mind.
Very crisp and Fanta. Very crisp and Fanta. Very crisp and Fanta. Very crisps and
Yeah,
fans.
I mean, I think what I've also started to notice a little bit, because I'm going through the process of trimming down rushes. And the interesting thing about that is you're so led by the first thing that you see. That, for example, what I've been doing is it's putting everything into different chapters. So literally putting all of the rushes that mention a specific subject into one timeline, where I can play that back and I can listen to literally everything everybody says about a specific thing. And it has loads of advantages, because obviously you can kind of get a sense of, well, where is the story amongst this pool, but it's a pool that is on a specific theme or is on a specific story event. But there's still a weird thing that happens, because we're such kind of storytelling animals, that if you put it on a timeline and you listen from start to finish, there's always still this feeling of like, well, the thing at the start kind of needs to stay, and it kind of informs everything that comes after that. So, I was doing some editing yesterday, and I had to get over that. I had to quite quickly go, yeah, those first minute, that just doesn't mean anything. But there was always a feeling of like, well, the order that's here should sort of remain. And I had to really force myself out of that to start to move things around. And some tools enable you to filter that information in different ways. And, I'd kind of like to find more ways to do that, as in, rather than it be a linear timeline, as in, and in a script, obviously, it's this is the first line, this is the last line.
Yeah.
On a timeline, it's this is the first frame and this is the last frame. Well, there are some tools that enable you to slice and dice that in different ways. So you could say, okay, let's look at all of those clips by length, or let's look at all of those clips by clip name, or let's look at all those clips by all kinds of other criteria. And in some ways it's like, well, just breaking yourself out of the linearity of thinking, which is this starts here, this ends here. It's sometimes really necessary to sort of shake up your understanding, particularly when you're thinking about story.
We're making a movie. It's so beautiful. Make it together. We're making a movie, man. We'll make it with love. I'm so happy. Johnny, man. We're making a movie. We're making a movie with love. This is amazing. Come together, everybody. Bring out your family and all your children, man. It's gonna be beautiful. Make it with love. Come and bring all your love and make a movie, man. I love you guys.
I noticed that one of our contributors, Prano Bailey Bond, has not only had her film at Sundance, but is just all over the newspapers at the moment. Have you seen?
Absolutely smashing it. She's all over everything at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
Mark Kermode thinks she's the best thing since sliced bread, quite rightfully, and there you go.
I know, isn't it amazing? So I think that she was in The Guardian the other day as a sort of whole feature article about her, not just about her, but about her in reference, her film in reference to film censorship as a general kind of theme, which I thought was amazing. You know, when you're being used as a kind of cipher for the era or for understanding a specific thing, it's fantastic. So it's kind of exciting to see these people who've been on the show go off into the world and do amazing things.
You are listening to DIY Cinema Cult.
All right, listeners, we'll keep an eye on the Facebook page. We will be updating you with any free party stuff, or shortly as well, old man shenanigans. But
keep an eye on the YouTube channel, which we've just
YouTube
discovered.
channel, Marc Hardman. That's Marc with a C. Yeah, have a look. I'm going to bitch. Obviously, I'm not a very prolific YouTuber, as we've just kind of highlighted the fact that being a YouTuber is a full-time job that I don't have. But you know, every couple of weeks, probably I'll be doing little kind of videos, just trying to shed a little light on the process of getting old man.
I'm going to have a little
to the
binge
screen.
now. I'm going to have a little YouTube binge. And I hope by binging on your YouTube channel, I discover how to do 3-point lighting. Thank you.
You can buy my LUTs, Aaron. You can buy my LUTs. Give me a discount, mate's discount.
20% off the Mark Hardman Cinema LUT pack. Yes.
Can I just say to our listeners, DIY Cinema Cult will never try and sell you LUTs, and that is a promise we will keep.
You'll get them for free if you subscribe.
Subscribe to. Just buy this PDF for $5.
Yeah, exactly. This tutorial series, which is a password link to my Patreon, and gives you access to this special content.
I'm sorry, listeners, we have no paywall at DIY Cinema Cult. Basically, everything we know you're hearing for free, and if it's not enough, then we're sorry. We're just not that clever yet.
Yeah.
We haven't watched enough YouTube videos.
Follow us on Twitter at DIY Cinema Cult, or on Instagram we are DIY_cinema_cult. Seek out the DIY Cinema Cult group on Facebook, or why not email us at DIYCinemaCult@gmail.com. Follow us.